and Mileage podcast. And today I'm going to be talking about my principles, my belief when it comes to health, fitness, training, motivation, nutrition, supplementation. There's so many different types of information out there that often contradict each other. Some people will hate on me and call my beliefs as bro science. Call it what you will. I say it's backed with science. However, I always back up my knowledge with mileage. If it works, why wouldn't I do it? Why wouldn't I persist with it? Why wouldn't I advise it? Why wouldn't I recommend it? So I'm going to tell you exactly what my recommendations are, my beliefs, and why. That's the most important why. But if you like this podcast, guys, please do leave a review. I'd love to read your reviews. Tell me if I suck. Tell me if I'm doing a good job. Or just give me a one-word answer like go, bye, great, whatever. And please subscribe, tell your friends. But let me get straight into the principles of my beliefs and training. So going back a few years, I used to train extremely heavy, low rep principles. The typical 8 to 12 repetitions, maybe lower than that. Specifically, I followed people like Arthur Jones, Mike Mensa, and Dorian Yates, the Dorian Yates style of HIT training. So I'd go very heavy on the compounds and the isolation movements, longer rest periods, low volume, requiring a lot of ATP replenishment and targeting my fast twitch muscle fibers. And that definitely worked for me to a certain degree. However, after several years of doing that, I was starting to feel as many injuries as I was actually growth. And I believe that is partly to do with my structure. I've got a very small structure when you look at my knees, my ankles, my wrists, my hands. I have a very small bone structure. So I'd say I probably take after my mum when it comes to that side of things. However, even though I don't have like full muscle bellies or huge muscle bellies, I am particularly strong, naturally strong. And that I say that I definitely got from my father's side of my family, because my father's side of my family have all been exceptionally strong, so much to the fact that actually other people talk about it. When you combine that bone structure and that muscle strength, it does put a lot of strain on your joints and your connective tissue, like your bicep tendons, your triceps, the elbow joints, knee joints, everything like that. So I was having a lot of niggling problems. Remember, I had a severe curvature of my spine from motocross as well. So squatting, at one point, I was squatting 7 plates a side, would you believe? I was training with Danny Chow during that period of my life, who was the natural Mr. Olympia, who also trained extremely heavy. So I thought, yeah, I'll follow suit. And yeah, my legs grew from it. There's no doubt about it. However, my joints and my inflammation was just getting to the stage where I just was not enjoying my training. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to take a step back here and see what I can do to rehab without actually stopping altogether. So I thought, okay, what's getting me to this point? Okay, it's low reps, low rest periods, heavy weights. Let me reverse that. So I thought, well, let me go very lighter weight, not extremely light, but lighter weight where I don't get discomfort. However, I'll go to absolute failure and I'll keep my rest periods very short. Let me see what happens. So I was training within around like a 50 repetition range on a lot of exercises, anywhere between 30 and 50. And as the inflammation started to dissipate, I was icing a lot during this time as well. I would, for the subsequent sets, I would increase the weight and do slightly lower reps. So I'd start off with, say, 50 to 60 repetitions. Then the next set I'd do like 40 to 50 repetitions. Then as the inflammation lowered, the next set I'd do 30 to 40, etc., etc. And what I noticed that not only was I able to rehab around these injuries and not cause any more inflammation, I was actually starting to respond physically from it with fuller muscle bellies, more separation from one muscle group to the next. And I was actually growing a better looking symmetrical physique that had slightly fuller muscle bellies. So I thought, wow, maybe there's something in this the body really doesn't understand the amount of weight that is being used. It just knows failure. However, it's undergoing a different type of stress. Now remember, I wasn't just using high reps and high reps only. I started to increase the weights, so I was actually incorporating high reps and low reps. So I was targeting both my fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers, my type 1, my type 2A, and type 2B. So I continued to go down that path. So then I was actually pyramiding the weight. I'd start off with, say, around 50 repetitions, increase the weight, go 40, then 30, then 20, then 10, and then decide, you know what, I'm going to go back down in the same pattern. So I'd do another 10 repetitions, lower the weight, have a rest, do 20 repetitions to failure, lower the weight, then 30, finishing at 50. And I started to obviously churn through a lot of calories because of this intensity. So, I was leaning out, which made me realize, okay, maybe I'm going to be in a bit of a deficit here. So I'm going to start increasing my calorie consumption, but put in a lot more time, effort, and intensity into the gym. And I found that my body was responding very well. It was enticing these calories within my body. My muscle protein synthesis was being increased. So I was able to replenish these stores that were being broken down with excessive amount of calories that was restoring my muscle fibers and allowing me to grow. So that's when I thought, wow, I'm making dramatic gains here. So that's when I called it DTP, Dramatic Transformation Principle, because that's exactly what I was going through. So that's what I do. I do quite a lot of varying rep ranges within my workouts, and I will train around 5 days a week. I did train for 6 days a week at one point, but I found that I just wasn't able to give 100% into every workout. So I found 5 times a week was that sweet spot. I obviously take in a lot of calories to ensure that I can train 5 days straight. I've done various types of training splits where I train 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off. But I actually find it more comfortable now to just go 5 days straight and then take an entire weekend off to allow my adrenal glands to just have a rest, my central nervous system to have a rest, bring those cortisol levels down completely as low as I can, get out of the gym for a couple of days and just perform cardio outside. And it's definitely helped me. Speaking of cardio, I do cardio every single day, all year round, sometimes twice a day. The reason being is, number one, health is most important to me. Yes, big muscles are great, big biceps, big thighs, great calves. That's great, that's awesome. However, what is more important is my heart health, my respiratory health, my immune system. So I like to perform cardio every day because this allows me to not only work my heart and my lung capacity, but it allows me to take in even more calories and allow those calories to be utilized. If I get a better blood flow around the body, I've got a better transportation of nutrients that allows my muscles to recover so much faster. So I've actually tried this out when I've done 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off of cardio, no cardio. And I find if I do no cardio, I find it very hard to recover and repair myself from the intensity of my workouts. However, if I do cardio every single day, I recover so much better, which makes sense. If you look at those guys from the Tour de France and they're out on that hill, as soon as they finish the race does not stop there. They actually go into their tent or their trailer and they'll get on like their trainer or a watt bike, and then they will take in their nutrients, they'll take their proteins, they'll take their carbohydrates or antioxidants and get on a watt bike to get rid of all the lactic acid that has built up, replenish those localized areas with nutrient-rich blood, oxygen-rich blood, remove themselves of the lactic acid so they can better repair themselves, because they've got to get on that freaking mountain again the next day with the same intensity. It is no different to us being bodybuilders. We still have to go into the gym the following day, maybe 23 hours after our last workout, and our workouts are always dictated by our recovery. So as soon as I finish my workout, I always like to do my cardio or cool down at least, just to get rid of the lactic acid. I'll take my recaged, because that is the fastest digesting protein known to the human body. So then I'll want to shuttle that protein to my localized area even faster and more efficiently. without carbohydrates, because I don't want to stunt my insulin-like factors, my growth factors, which can get stunted by taking carbohydrates. If you do a conventional workout, like a normal weights workout or one of my workouts, let's say that workout took about an hour. Well, you're only actually spending time under tension for probably half that, actually performing your reps and your sets. Believe me, your body, your liver, your muscles will store plenty of glycogen to replenish yourself from those workouts. So you can actually get a good insulin spike from recage because the protein digests so fast without stunting your growth hormone levels. So I always tell people, look, have your recage immediately after your workout, do your cardio, do your cool down, and then take your carbohydrates after. But I do suggest, whether you're in a bulking phase, lean out phase, that you take a cardio session every single day. That could be 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever. But I always like to do that, and it's worked well for me. And I proved that when I actually did my Man of Iron video series last year when I was preparing for an Ironman. I actually put on muscle during that process. And that was extensive amount of cardio, but I was taking in an extensive amount of clean calories as well. So I like to do these high repetitions. When I'm in the high reps of about 40 to 50 reps, I only rest very, very short periods, 30 to 45 seconds, very, very short, because I believe this actually does promote sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. So really pushing the fluid into the muscle, allowing it to swell, getting that pump, stretching that fascia. However, when I go down to the lower reps of around 15, 10, 5 repetitions, then I'll take much longer in between sets, because now I'm relying upon my ATP to forcefully push my myofibrillar hypertrophy. So ATP is that required energy source, and you can only really replenish it after several minutes of taking, obviously, additional creatine helps. So I take my creatine HCl, but I stay extremely hydrated as well to ensure the transportation of that creatine can go into the cell where I need it. Okay, going on to my meals. I do believe in meal frequency for the most part, as well as fasting, but I'll go into fasting in a second. So I like to have a minimum of 6 meals throughout the day. I like to eat as soon as I get up, and then eat within every 3 hours throughout the day, and eat just pretty much immediately before I go to bed. The reason being is that it is proven that eating raises your body core temperature. So it increases thermogenesis. So think about that fat burning flame. If you leave it for like 5-6 hours, that flame's going to go out. If you keep feeding it quality wood, i.e. food, then your thermogenesis is going to be that much higher. Plus, this will help provide stabilized blood sugars. So you don't give your body a chance to drop, so you don't get those cravings of sugar to actually bring it back up. And if you're having smaller meals, it's going to be good for your stomach and your intestines, because your intestines are a muscle as well, so it doesn't cause expansion, so you're not left with a distended belly. Like, I've got a thick waist as it is naturally. I don't need it any thicker by actually working the intestinal muscles, so I like to have small, little, and frequent meals for that purpose. And I like to have a steady flow of those amino acids, because your body can only absorb, on average, let's say about 30 grams of protein per sitting. So there's no point gorging yourself once or twice a day. Now, there's a rule to that thumb. On a Sunday, for instance, I like to fast once a week. Like, I'm on a muscle building program at the moment that I'm shooting for Caged Muscle, the 8-week hardcore muscle building video trainer, which will be out at the end of the year, by the way. Now, I'll fast once a week. The reason being is that it allows me to utilize all the undigested proteins that I've taken during the week. It'll allow me to get through those. It also improves my muscle protein synthesis. It cleans out the intestines, gives you, a better insulin response when you actually do eat, and then it allows you to absorb the nutrients that much better when you actually take in, when you break your fast. And I'll break my fast usually with some cooked vegetables and some raw vegetables, some salad, and then I'll have my protein source, and then I'll have my carbs and fats. And then I know when I'm taking in these nutrients, the body is just sucking up, because it's kind of starved now at this point. I'll fast for about 16 hours, nothing huge, but the body will absorb it. I actually feel it uptake that much more readily than usual. And it gives me a little bit of energy, because like normally I'll eat a lot of food which requires a lot of energy to do so. It's subconscious, however, it's still there. But when I allow myself to fast, it kind of cleans me out. It's very light. It's very enlightening to leave the house without food and not have to meal prep. It's pretty cool in that regard. But studies have proven as well that this is great for anti-aging purposes as well. Your body will actually hold on to muscle during this time. It's very good at using fat as an energy source, and carbohydrates, I should say, as an energy source, and it will actually, during this very short period, will allow you to retain muscle. So I wouldn't do it 5, 6, 7 days a week if you're on a muscle building phase, so to speak. However, once a week, absolutely fine. I believe it actually helps. So that's another one of my beliefs. Another one further from that, when I'm going to cardio, I don't perform fasted cardio. I have done, I don't make a habit of it. I like to have something in my system first. If you think about it, when we wake up in the morning, we're in a fasted state, we're in a catabolic state. Now, if I'm going to go and stress my body on a consistent basis in the gym, working out, and then performing cardio, I could be even more catabolic and start tapping into muscle stores as well as fat stores when I'm performing my cardio. So for that reason, when I wake up, I like to have maybe my recaged protein and oats, or some egg whites and oats, or at the very least, I like to have my glutamine, my branched chain amino acids, my hydrocharge, and then go and perform some cardio. I believe then, because like if you've had something to eat, your metabolism starts to raise, you're in an anti-catabolic environment, then you're going to be much more efficient performing your cardio on a faster, higher temperatured metabolism. That's my thought, and I've stuck to that for years, and I honestly believe that's why I've been able, on average, to put on about a pound of muscle every year, pound to a pound and a half every year for the past 20 years, which can be tough. But you know, if I was doing fasted cardio every single day, would I be leaner? Yeah, possibly. But would I be able to hold on to as much muscle? Probably not. So I'm willing to carry on a bit of muscle, because I can lean out any time that I want over a short period of time anyway. I'm not saying it's easy for me, but, you know, I like to, go at things like a Band-Aid and rip it off as opposed to bit by bit. Now, when it comes to the types of cardio, though, dependent on the time of year, it will change. So if I'm on a fat loss diet, much like, like that 8-week hardcore video trainer, then I will perform steady state cardio, because I elevate my cortisol levels extremely high through work, through stress, and through weight training. I don't want to raise those cortisol levels anymore by performing high-intensity interval training, with my cardio, a lot of sprints and stuff like that. So I'll go steady state for longer duration to retain my muscle and just spike my metabolism and shave some fat in the process. However, if I'm on a muscle building program and now I'm in a calorie surplus and I'm taking in plenty of fats and my testosterone levels are a little higher, then I will actually do some high intensity interval cardio, because as I put on weight, I also want to keep up my lung capacity expansion and keep my cardiovascular fitness high, because as I put on weight, it can put on a lot of strain on my cardio system, and now I'm not able to train as intense with shorter rest periods throughout my workouts, especially when I'm working out larger muscle groups like legs and back. So, dependent on the time of year is dependent on the type of cardio that I do. And obviously I'm trying to keep my testosterone levels as high as possible. So we've got a new product that's just come out called Ferrodrox at Cage Muscle. Now, this supplement is absolutely unbelievable, and I truly believe it's going to blow everything else off the shelves, because nothing on the shelves, I believe, when it comes to testosterone boosters, really work. This product is very different with the patented ingredients that work synergistically with the other ingredients. We have some ingredients in here that raise the bioavailability of the key patented ingredients. And we have some ingredients that are very estrogenic. Others are raising testosterone, and it's just a great all-round product that obviously will increase your testosterone and your muscle gaining process. So when you're on a muscle building phase, then that is definitely the supplement that you should be going for. However, I do stress to people, you should be taking this more so on a fat burning phase, because now your calories are brought back, your fats are probably very low, and then you don't get the natural testosterone, free testosterone production as you once would or should. Okay. Now, we put ourselves through a lot of oxidative stress. We put ourselves through, a lot of free radical damage, high cortisol levels. So I do obviously suggest supplements. A lot of people will shake their head and say supplements don't actually work. Well, you do need supplements, because the majority of people that I've seen who I've requested they get their blood tests are deficient in something. Why? Because the soil is over-harvested now. Look at the population growth. Look at the genetically modified foods. People are overcooking the foods. They are not taking in the healing nutrients from these foods that people once did 40, 50 years ago. And you look at all the environmental factors. There's over 80,000 contaminants and acids and paints and lacquers in our environment that there once was. A lot of these are estrogenic, and a lot of these things degrade your vitamin and mineral count. And for that purpose, I do suggest that you take supplements, because you are obviously deficient, and when you work out, you actually derive yourself of these vital nutrients and minerals and antioxidants and vitamins, as opposed to somebody who's quite sedentary. We need concentrated forms of these foods. That's why, of course, you use up a lot of amino acids. That's why I do suggest that people take the fermented branched chain amino acids. Most people are dehydrated. That's why I suggest people drink their hydrocharge with the electrolytes. There's a lot of reasons why I suggest supplementation, and it isn't to make money. It is simply for people's purpose of health and performance. So, do I suggest supplements? Hell right, I do. When it comes to other things like mental application, a lot of people think I may overthink these things, because I will really psych myself up before workouts. I will visualize the workout. I'll visualize myself in the clothes that I'm wearing for that workout. I'll visualize the temperature, how the metal feels in my hand. So when I go and hit the gym, I just go through the motions. I've already been there. I've seen the success. I've felt the failure in order to gain that success. Now I just go through the motions. So I think mental application is critical. I look at people's transformations, and I don't think it's anything to do with genetics as such from the neck down. It's definitely their mental characteristics and resilience from the neck up. So that is something that we can all work upon. Genetic potential, okay, there's only so much that you can do there. But with your mental application is a huge proportion. They say that we only realize about 60% of our potential. So there's a good 40% that you can still work upon, because people will very easily look at someone else's results and say, well, that's Photoshop, that's not real, he must have taken steroids, instead of actually looking at themselves and go, you know what, maybe this person's just a stronger person than me mentally. He's willing to sacrifice so much more. He wants his results as desperately he wants to breathe. Can you actually say that to yourself? Maybe not. Then you actually have room to grow there. So when it comes to my principles, obviously the meal frequency, the high and low rep principles, the non-fasted cardio, supplementation, it's all very, very basic. Nothing is too technical. I could get very technical to tell you how I further raise my growth hormone levels, my insulin spikes, maybe through sauna, through fasting. Every day I take my detoxification concoction with my turmeric, my apple cider vinegar. I try to eat fermented food and fermented produce. I look after my gut microbiome. I reset it all the time. I detox all the time. I try to meditate. As I said, I get in the sauna to detox and improve my insulin sensitivity and release my growth hormone levels. I stay away from certain plastics because they're estrogenic. There's a lot of hacks I could get into, but I'm not going to go there. I'm just giving you my basic principles. But further from all of that, what is the key? What is the secret? It's consistency. Doing shit even when you don't want to. Today I worked out, even though I was filming it for the muscle building trainer. I didn't want to work out today. I just did not want to be anywhere near the gym. And even on my last exercise of deadlifts, I was thinking to myself, I still don't want to be here. Endorphins still haven't kicked in, but you know what? I did it. I know I'm going to wake up extremely sore tomorrow, and I did everything that I possibly could to get my 100% out. That is what separates the winners and the losers. That's what separates first and second. Pursuing and going through the hard times even when you don't want to. You force yourself. You don't listen to the complacency and excuse and a doubt. You persevere. I'm Kris Gethin. This is the Knowledge and Mileage Podcast. Please subscribe.